Once upon a time, in the African village of Okwe, beautiful and surrounded by rich vegetations, a story was told of three beautiful, elegant young maidens. It was a tragic story of pain and loss, a story of betrayal and regret, a story of death that have left its ugly mark in the once peaceful village of Okwe. It was the story of Nneka, Uche, and Ogadi. The three maidens were age mates and inseparable best of friends. Because of how close they are with each other, rumors have it that they might belong to a mermaid cult, which was believed to have been prevalent at that time. If you're in search of any, all you need to do is to find one of them. That was how close they were. Among the girls, each has her own unique character that sets her apart from the others. Neka happens to be their leader, the one in charge of whatever happens in the group. She was beautiful and bold and high spirited, but was known for her mischief and hot temper. She was beautiful to behold, but not as beautiful as her friend Ogadi. Ogadi was the fairest among them all and possesses a great dancing skill that the villagers could not help but admire all the time. She was in the eyes of every young man in that village, for her beauty cannot be disputed. But in all her beauty, she's the naivest among them. She's gentle and carefree, doesn't really attach meaning to anything. She believes in living life freely and without nursing any grudges, a strong virtue that makes her get along easily with people. The last but not the least is Uche, beautiful in her own unique way, and also possess a virtue great for humankind. She was gentle and kind, pure in her heart. It placed her high in the eyes of people who are able to recognize a rare gem when they see one. Neka lived with both parents and her elderly brother. The parents are farmers, just like most parents in that village. She's energetic and often help out in farming and other household chores. From the early hours of the morning, the father will leave for the farm with Chiadi, her brother, while Nneka and her mother cooks up some scrumptious meal for her father and brother at the farm. Then together the family will finish up the day's work and begin to head back home. A routine both Nneka and her family have lived through all their lives. In the evening, they will all come out under the brightness of the magical moon and chat and tell captivating folklore stories. It was that part of their daily routine that Nneka and her brother always looks forward to each night. It had always been in the prayers of every parent in Okwe village to live and watch their children grow into a respectable adult and, God willing, find a peaceful, prosperous family to call their own in the future. That was the prayer of Mazi Ilonse and his wife Adaugo. She was the mother of Neka, a proud mother of two growing children. Often, when she sits and casts her mind afar, she could only but smile as she watched both Neka and her elderly brother Chiadi strive to find their feet in a big world. I know both of you will make me proud. She will pray within her. I cannot wait to carry my grandchildren. The gods of my fathers will see to that. She will conclude her constant silent prayers. She watches as her little daughter blossoms into a beautiful, intelligent woman. But what gives her a concern is the high rate of her mischievous behavior. Neka is full of mischief and seems to drive joy in causing chaos. She can easily fabricate a lie and make it stand firm and shining bright as truth. If not that the family has sat down and monitored every of her character and moves, it will be hard for them to understand when she's at her game. Often she has set her father against her elder brother. She will fabricate lies and stood firm, not flinching an inch. It was the mother that would intervene, and the truth will be uncovered. She's good at playing a fast one on people. and that has made her brother Chiadi to learn to be proactive with her. He watches her every move and hardly trusts her. I pity your friends, he will tell her sister. Anytime they're together having an argument, they're the only ones that can tolerate your meanness, he will conclude and scoffs. My friends are lucky to have an intelligent, brave, one like your sister. You should be proud of me, Chiadi, she will firmly respond, rolling her eyes up and down in a playful manner and chuckles. And at that point, her brother will sprang up and began to chase her, a sight both parents will always feel proud watching. Chiadi, on the other hand, was a charming, gentle young man. He is hard-working and intelligent, and thus it has placed him high in the eyes of every woman in the village of Okwe. Each prays that one day he will become their future son-in-law. But Kayadi's heart has already picked one maiden in all the maidens in that village. He has a soft spot for the beautiful Ogadi, the village beauty, his sister's closest friend. And speaking of her, she's beautiful to behold and happens to carry herself gracefully. Just like her friend Neka and Uche, she also lives with her widowed mother and two other elderly siblings. The more reasons it was believed that she is spoilt and overpampered. Unlike Neka, Ogadi happens to derive joy in making excuses whenever it comes to doing chores, part of her character that irritates her older sibling. Do I blame you? The elder brother will lament. She has us. Why would she worry? Then let her be prepared to be ridiculed in the village because no one will marry a lazy, spoilt brat like her. Her immediate elderly sister will swiftly respond, scoffing, "But I'm not lazy," Ogadi will hastily say, defending herself. And at that point, their mother will cut in and warn them playfully not to hurt their sister, feeling, "She is my last child. Obu Odudunuam, she's not to be blamed." And that will bring the argument to an end. And as for Uche, she came from a peaceful, well to do family. The father was a carpenter, while the mother stays home to help out with farm works and attending to her other children. She's kind and intelligent. Among her friends, she's the one that usually settles disputes. It often baffles the villagers how she can cope up with Neka and her troublesome character. By being together, we make each other better, will be her soft response. She's no good for you, sister, the brother will sternly warn. But she hasn't done anything bad to me, she will argue, trying hard to defend her friend. What do you expect, my child? The mother will step in. Your sister is kind and sees good in everyone. I pray so, Chisom. Her elderly brother will suddenly blurt out, not completely agreeing with their mother. Although the three girls have their differences, both in character and otherwise, but there is something common among them. The village girl were all virgins. They have strictly kept their virginity as tradition demands. In those days, women are trained and nurtured on how to preserve their womanhood. It is not only for their dignity, but it is also for the family's honor. During that time, having intimacy with a man before marriage was a taboo, a disgrace to the family and to the maiden involved. So, mothers strictly teach and groom their girls in an upright manner so that when the time comes, they will stand tall in the presence of their in laws and not ridiculed by shame. Those times the youngsters get to know each other and possibly find their future soulmates by playing together in the village square under the new moon, Egwu Onwa, as it was called. It's a tradition for the youngsters of the village to go out at night once the moon is out and socialize with their age mates, a kind of socializing dawn with the purest of heart. During those times, people feared the tradition. There's consequences for every mistake. Children honored and respected their parents and elderly ones. They know the implication of going out of line against what the tradition demands. And it was on one of the gatherings that Kiadi walked up to Ogadi and opened up to her about his feelings. And surprisingly, Ogadi's heart has felt the same. According to her, I was scared your sister will stand against it. She has confided in him as both talked in a secluded place. I understand your fear. My sister can react irrationally sometimes, Chiadi responded, comforting her. Just see it as her own way of protecting her brother. He added, smiling, before his sister gently sneaked in and gave them a scare. And that was how their friendship started. At first, it was pure and no ill motive attached. It made Ogari frequent her best friend's house more than usual. Neka at first thought it was all about their friendship, but it wasn't long for her to uncover the truth. Ogadi frequents their home to see his elderly brother, and that she hates and couldn't hide her feelings because she has quickly confronted her friend and warned her vehemently to stay away from her brother. But we care for each other, Ogadi, her soft spoken friend has pleaded. I thought you would be happy for me, Neka. He's my only brother. Leave him alone, Neka yelled on top of her voice and hurriedly stormed out of their sight, leaving Ogadi baffled and sad. I thought she would be happy, she had lamented, turning her gaze to Uche, who was seated beside her. All three has come together to help her out in a domestic chores. But you know how she can react, Uche softly said. I suggest you don't visit their house for now, she pleaded with Ogadi as both continued chatting. And that was how the three girls continued with their friendship, but unknowingly to the other two. Ogadi has continued to see Chiadi Neka's brother. And it was on one of those, their secret meeting, that Chiadi was tempted to have a carnal knowledge of her. They never planned it that way, but it happened, and both were scared and lost. They agreed together to keep it a secret, and time passed. Although Neka has made everybody believe that she's against her friend's relationship with her brother just for no reason. But what they did not know is that Neka is bearing grudges against Ogadi. She was secretly nursing ill feelings towards her. She has become jealous of her best friend. Why would she be the most beautiful, the most desired by every man in the village? Why must she attract all the attention? She will cry and sobs when she's all by herself. And now she wants to take the most eligible bachelor in the village, my own brother. That will not happen in my watch, she will angrily swear. And it was during one of her times of reflection about her life and the fear she has that Ogadi will outshine her that she made up her mind to bring her friend down. At first, she did not know how, but as days passed by and she noticed the restlessness in her brother any time Ogadi is around or her name mentioned, she knew that something is not right. You feel scared anytime you see her brother, she had unexpectedly blurted out one evening during their private discussion. What are you insinuating, Neka? The brother hastily stuttered, averting an eye contact. The question had caught him unaware, and the guilt in his eyes has given him away. You know quite well what I'm talking about, brother, she playfully said, and gently placed her hands on her brother's shoulder. You're free to tell me everything, brother. I'm solidly behind you both. She added a mischievous smile on her face, and on hearing that, Chiadi relaxed and told his sister of what happened between him and Ogadi. But then her reaction turned to the worst, because unexpectedly she had hastily sprung up and threatened to tell the parents. Abomination! She had cried out as her brother tried to quieten her down. Aru, I knew she's evil, she screamed, but I will teach her a lesson she will never forget in her life. I'm going to marry her, the brother boldly said, confronting his younger sister. Says who? Who are you to challenge my decision? Neka be warned, he firmly said, getting angry. I thought I was speaking to a human. I forgot. Your blood is frozen, he snarled. All right, we shall see, Neka threatened. And let me warn you, little sister, if anything happens to Ogadi because of your wickedness, then be ready to fight me. He vehemently warned and stormed away. Thank God both parents were away and didn't witness the commotion between the two. And from that day on, Neka took it upon herself to disgrace Ogadi. She plotted to stop her before her brother proposes marriage, and she knew how. Once she has overheard her father narrate to her mother the story of an ancient belief. Before they were born, the villagers had some means of finding out hidden truth, and it had worked like magic, although the outcome can be severe. The victim, when exposed, is punished and publicly disgraced. It has fitted perfectly for what she has in mind. It was the story of a local lantern. According to the ancient tales, if a victim passes through the lantern, feigning innocence, when the lantern is lit, the lantern will go off instantly, as if it has been blown off by wind or by unseen person, and that is how the truth will be uncovered. It has been proven to be accurate severally, and although it sounds scary and diabolic, but Neka was determined to drag her friend into it, knowing fully well that she will fall for her tricks. And so one evening, during the Egu Onwa dance, the new moon dance, Neka secretly called her friends out and led them to a place a little far from the village square. At first, both friends had followed her sheepishly, a little scared though. It's late night, and who wouldn't? What are you up to, Neka? Ogadi has softly asked. Yes, where are we going? Uche added. I have a play for us in this late hour. Ogadi asked. Why are you suddenly scared? Neka swiftly asked, turning her gaze on Ogadi, who was just behind her. But every other person will be, Uche responded boldly. It is late, and we're drifting away in the thick forest all by ourselves. Well, you don't have anything to worry about. Only the guilty is scared. The guilty. I don't know what you're up to, Neka, but you're beginning to scare me. Ogadi once again softly said, looking at her. She's terribly shaken, but she has to obey their leader. What if she has found out? She constantly asked herself. Her behavior is strange, she added, and tried so hard to quieten her nerves. Really? Neka once again fired back. It's clearly to see that something is eating her up silently, but the girl has kept their calm and followed. But suddenly she halted and announced their arrival. Finally, we're here, she exclaimed and giggled mischievously. And to the girl's shock, she has led them to a popular tree, Udara tree, believed to be an abode for spirits at night. What are we doing here? Uche firmly asked. To play Uche. Neka responded calmly. She knew besides Uche's calm nature, she can also be stubborn when she wants to. Under the Udara tree this late, and as the girls slowly observed the surrounding, they also noticed a lantern placed in a corner. And what is that lantern for? Uche again once added. It's late, Neka quickly responded, and hurried to light the lantern. Now are you going to trust me? She inquired, and didn't get any response from any of the girls. And after lighting the lantern, Neka went straight to tell the girls why she has called them out. We're raised to be proud, she started. We're expected to keep ourselves for the right man. When the time comes, I'm here as your leader to ensure that we keep to our promise, she firmly said, her eyes burning like a flame. And at that point, Ogadi was shaking like a leaf, but she tried to control herself. I knew it, she has found out, she thought. But how? It was our secret, she muttered. Within, tell me that I'm wrong. By looking out for my friends, Nika firmly demanded firmly, none of us, pausing, will betray our parents. Their dignity is at stake, she yelled, feigning innocent. It was in all her plans to ridicule and expose Ogadi. She refused to heed the warnings of her brother. She led the girls to an oath. If you're sure you're still a virgin, then you will go around this lantern dancing to prove you're innocent, she cried out. But that is taking an oath, Uche hastily blurted. We're too young to do this. It's nothing, just a kind of play to keep us on track, Neka hastily said in defense. She wants to punish me, Ogadi once again muttered within her, and at that point she made up her mind to lie. It's just an ordinary lantern, she said to herself and was willing to pass by it as was directed. Are we in girls? Neka screamed. Yes, the girls all chorused. Then Neka started a song, and the rest of the girls clapped as she danced around the lantern, placed in the middle of their circle. She danced and passed, and her innocence was proved. As the girls applauded her, Uche did the same, was applauded for proving that she's still a virgin, to cover her shame and out of fear of what the village might say. Ogadi, the village dancer, danced gracefully just like the others, but as she was almost through, the lantern suddenly went off to their shock. It's true, Neka unknowingly blurted. What is true? Uche demanded. The lantern is not ordinary. What do you mean? Uche asked, looking confused. But as she was about getting an answer, something strange happened. As both watched Ogadi trying to steady her balance, she had felt like passing out as soon as she passed the lantern. What have you done to me? She had lamented within her. Are you all right? Both girls chorused and rushed to her aid. I'm fine, Ogadi softly said as she managed to walk away. She's not well, Neka. What have you done? Uche asked, pulling her friend away to a corner. I did nothing. Why did the lantern go off then? There's something you're hiding. I don't know. Uchineka screamed in a panic as all girls hastened home. Neka was terribly scared, not knowing what to think anymore. What have I done? She kept asking herself and silently prayed that nothing happens to Ogadi. Before the girls could arrive back to where they took off from, the village square was already deserted. The unseemly quietness was scary. It felt like there was danger, locking, tragedy. The energy was alarming. It was then that it dawned on the girls that they have been away for hours, as they all followed the route leading to their respective compounds. But from that day on, nothing was heard about Ogadi. The girls have kept their escapades a secret, but not to Kiadi. On that same evening, he was planning on alerting Ogadi that their secret has been exposed. He wanted to warn her to stay away from his sister, but he was late because when he went in search of her, Ogadi was nowhere to be found. He had asked and looked at the possible place they can be at that late hour, but they were nowhere to be found. He then lamented and blamed himself for not doing enough. And so he has stayed up late and waited for her sister quietly to avoid startling her. And as soon as her feet touched the compound, Kiadi emerged like a ghost and stopped her sister, who was terribly shaken. Seeing his brother, what have you done? He sternly inquired. Tell me the truth, or this village will not contain both of us. Please calm down. Brother, she pleaded, and later narrated the whole incident. You killed her, you monster. You know she's guilty and still led her to an oath. Pray that nothing happens to her. I know that you can be meaning, but I've underrated your coldness. Chiadi cried out. If anything happens to her, then count me as your number one enemy, he cried out, sobbing. And that was when it dawned on Neka that she has taken it too far. As she sat and sobs, it was just to terrify her. She cried out in pain. I didn't mean any harm, she pleaded as his brother stormed away. And the next few days that followed, Ogadi illness was rumored because according to her mother, from the day she came back from the moonlight dance, Gogu Onwa, she has not been herself. The mother had told Uche, who went to visit Ogadi when days passed, and she didn't set eyes on her. On hearing that, Uche was scared. As she watched her dear friend fight for her life, she was burning with fever and refused to open her eyes. She also notices her muttering incoherent words. Did she tell you something, Mama? Uche had softly asked the mother. She never spoke a word since she entered that room. I don't understand the sudden illness. She's seldom ill, the confused woman has explained. I have to leave now, Mama, Uche suddenly muttered. I will come back later in the day, she has hurriedly said, looking perplexed. She had to leave, or else she would be forced to spill everything because on seeing her friend struggle with her life, she had felt like letting out a loud cry for help, but then held herself. She was filled with guilt for not being able to disclose their secret. What has she done to me? Look at me. I'm beginning to act like her. We killed her, she muttered, her heart pounding rapidly. Chimu, what have we done? My brother warned me, she lamented, and hurried to Neka's house to break the news. But as she stepped into her compound, a loud cry was heard, a lamentation of death and sorrow. Both girls were devastated. What is it? Both asked. The alarm was coming direct from Ogadi's place. It wasn't long when Ogadi was confirmed dead. Her death was a shock. She was not ill, everybody asked. The family was devastated. The village of Okwe has lost a gem, a beautiful, harmless, innocent maiden. It was a horrific death that left tears in the eyes of the villagers. Kiadi was deeply hurt. He felt anger rather than pain and blamed her sister for her death. Neka, on the other hand, was devastated and had continued to plead her innocence to her brother. I meant no harm, she had continued crying. She lived with the guilt, both her and Uche, for hiding the truth. Ogadi's death was a tragic one because during those times, untimely death was rare. And for a young maiden, that is healthy to suddenly drop dead, coupled with how short her sickness lasted, the people believed that something was not right, although it wasn't proved. Years passed, and each girl were married. But then strange things began to happen. Neka began to be troubled. She constantly dreamt about her dead friend, coming to ask her for an account. It was a horrific nightmares that always ends with her screaming, you killed me. She will lament and cry out. At that point, Neneka will scream out her sleep. And as if that was not enough, her only daughter was troubled too because she has visitations too. Ask your mother about me, the spirit will sorrowfully whisper. Go and ask her about Ogadi. And that was when Neka finally opened up and confessed to the villagers after years. Uche too confessed because she too was troubled, but not like Neka. That very day, the villagers once again mourned the deceased. Her friends pleaded that they were scared. I never meant you to be dead. Neka has genuinely cried. I was jealous, she has confessed. Forgive me, my good friend. I have learnt my lessons. Have my conscience to torture me all the days of my life, she has lamented. People saw her genuine pain. The family of Ogadi forgave, her brother too. All those years, the bond between them was severed, but on seeing her plead once again, he was touched in his heart. Kiadi gently walked to his sister and helped her up. The past was put to rest as everyone sorrowfully returned to their respective homes. Be angry, but sin not, the Bible said. Always guard the thoughts that runs in your heart. We are all beautiful and unique. Always love and accept who you are. Again, do not follow crowd. Always judge every decision with your heart. The end. Please subscribe and share this video with your loved ones. Always tune in for more captivating stories. Thank you.